Deputy Joanne Tuffy, the Deputy has 5 minutes.
Thanks, Loskin Corla and Minister. Well, as the Minister knows, I represent Dublin Midwest constituency. And it's obviously one of the rapidly growing areas in the country, and it's going to continue that way because there's another 25,000 houses to be built there in the next decade or so. And there's been a huge number of new schools opened up in the constituency over the last few years. And just last September, for example, there was 3 new schools opened, and that was thanks to the Adamstown SDZ, which is obviously a good thing, although there's still schools in my constituency. There's one, for example, which has been in a prefab for about 14 years and is still waiting for a school that was promised last election and this election, and the election just gone. But just in relation to Adamstown, when the schools were about to open in September, as it was reported in RT, those schools had run out of funds before they ever even opened. The situation is basically that they get a startup grant, new schools, of €6,348.67, and that's it until they get their capitation fee paid in January. And this money is to cover things like photocopiers, computers, advertise for staff and so on. There's no provision for equipping. I mean, it's supposed to cover equipment as well, but it doesn't cover the equipping of classrooms. It doesn't cover secretarial or cleaning. So the schools were basically, that was it, 6,000. I mean, do you know, some people would spend that, do you know, on doing up a kitchen or something, or, you know, a modest kitchen for that matter, and that's what a school is given for setting up a new school. I mean, and the other problem about that startup grant is you get the same amount of grant, the €6,348.67, whether you're a 1-classroom new school or a 12-classroom new school. I mean, I talked to somebody today about it, and the real startup cost, if you did it right in a new school, would probably come up to €50,000. It costs, like, to buy, you know, to do things like have a secretary, equip an office, buy the photocopier and all that kind of stuff, you'd quickly go through the €6,000 plus, and then you'd need 3,000 per classroom to equip it properly, the way a primary school should be equipped. So if you had a 7-classroom school, you could be talking about 21,000 to equip the classes, and whatever you would spend on the basic fitting up of the school and the staff room and so on. I mean, what the Adamstown schools had to do in the end was they were absolutely in dire straits, and they had to plead with the Department of Education to have their 50% of their capitation fee paid in advance. And they used that then for basically their setup costs. And what's going to happen now is that the other fund that they got their ancillary costs paid in advance as well, which is €8,000 to cover things like secretarial and cleaning. I mean, how could you possibly pay the wage of a secretary and a cleaner out of that?